The G7 leaders have gathered in Evian, Les Bains, France for a high stakes summit dominated by overlapping global crises from Russia's war in Ukraine to the ongoing Middle East tensions and the fragile aftermath of the US Iran conflict. Over the 3 day meeting, the world's most advanced economies are attempting to coordinate responses to escalating geopolitical instability, energy security concerns, and emerging health threats while also navigating a tentative diplomatic breakthrough between Washington and Tehran. A key flashpoint at the summit came from US President Donald Trump, who drew attention after expressing frustration with Israel's military operations in Lebanon against Hezbollah. Speaking on the sidelines, Trump said he was not happy with the way Israel has handled the situation, arguing that the prolonged conflict is complicating broader regional stabilization efforts and potentially undermining the momentum of the emerging US Iran ceasefire framework.
And I suggested to Israel to let Syria take care of Hezbollah. Because to be honest with you, I think they do a better job of doing it. And I didn't like Syria. I didn't like where 2 hours before we're signing the agreement that there was an attack in Lebanon, in Beirut. It wasn't like in the southern side, it was in Beirut. I did not like that. I let them know that. I didn't like it. If Israel can't do the job without killing everyone else, he'll do the job. Syria will do the job. Now, we had a great relationship. We're talking about some end details. I didn't like that he did an attack based on there's a very minor little thing with some drones that were released, and he ends up doing I saw that attack. I saw where that bomb went. Did you see what happened? That was a vicious, that was too much. You can do too much also. But we've had a very effective relationship. Without the United States, there would be no Israel. Without me, there would be no Israel, because no other president was willing to do what I did. I've had a great relationship with Bibi, but now Bibi has to be more responsible with respect to Lebanon. Now, I'm not happy with the way Israel has handled themselves with Lebanon and with Hezbollah. They should have been able to do the job faster. It just goes on forever. And when that happens, it throws a negative light on the big deal, and that's the deal with Iran.
The US Iran agreement itself remains central to discussions throughout the summit. The proposed deal, expected to be formally signed later this week in Switzerland at the Birkenstock resort near Lucerne, aims to extend the fragile ceasefire, reopen the strategic Strait of Hormuz, and ease pressure on global energy flows. However, major uncertainties persist, including disagreement over Israel's role in Lebanon and conflicting interpretations of withdrawal conditions under the deal. The proposal has also triggered skepticism in Washington, with lawmakers demanding full briefings before any final approval. At the same time, Iran's foreign minister warned that the agreement cannot be considered complete unless Israeli forces withdraw from occupied territories in Lebanon, a condition Israel has firmly rejected, raising doubts over whether the ceasefire framework can fully hold.
تونستی به ایران ما نهایتاً تصمیم گرفتیم که مذاکرات رو به 2 مرحله تقسیم بکنیم. در مرحله اول موضوع خاتمه جنگ و بحث تنگه هرمز، محاصره دریایی.
Alongside the Middle East crisis, Ukraine remained a top priority for G7 leaders. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy joined discussions calling for increased pressure on Russia, including expanded sanctions targeting its oil and gas exports. Leaders also agreed to strengthen Ukraine's air defense capabilities with a renewed emphasis on boosting Patriot missile production and sustaining long-term military support as the war enters its 4th year.
Putin has to stop this war, and I have unanimity from all the leaders and EU presidents. So we had the unanimity that Russia is not winning, losing a lot of people. and they have to make a deal as quick as possible.
French and British officials described real unity within the G7 on Ukraine, with growing consensus that Russia is under mounting economic and battlefield pressure. Zelensky also held bilateral talks with Trump on the sidelines to coordinate positions ahead of broader discussions on the conflict. Energy security emerged as another major concern, with warnings that disruptions linked to the Iran conflict and global shipping routes could significantly increase costs worldwide. An International Energy Agency assessment cautioned that regions such as Southeast Asia could face surging import bills unless they rapidly diversify energy sources, accelerating a shift toward renewables and nuclear power but still relying on fossil fuels during crisis. Health and humanitarian issues were also on the agenda, with G7 leaders calling for a coordinated global response to an Ebola outbreak in Congo. The group emphasized stronger travel screening, quarantine measures, and accelerated vaccine development to contain the spread ahead of peak global travel periods. Beyond the core conflicts, leaders also met with representatives from Egypt, Qatar, and the UAE for discussions on Middle East stability, followed by broader sessions with countries including India, Brazil, South Korea, and Kenya focused on rebuilding global partnerships, boosting investment, and strengthening international cooperation.